Yeah, I got the message. It's recording. Great.
Hi, Aman. How are you? Welcome to the most serious podcast, man.
Thank you so much, man, for calling me. And your podcast name is not so serious, but I am I'm a mixture of a serious and a not so serious guy. So looking forward to it.
The podcast name is the most serious podcast. Now let's see how serious and non-serious are you.
Acha, it's oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I thought it's not so serious.
There is in fact a podcast called the Not So Serious Show. I think I've seen something around like when I was once Google searching the podcast, then it
Hmm.
came up. So I think there exists a podcast, but yeah,
Okay.
this one's the most serious. Let's see how.
Okay. So now it's the most serious podcast. So we need to talk about serious things, man. Okay, let's go. Excited.
What do you let's start with this. We've started talking on the topic of podcasts only. So what's your podcast intake like? Are you a person who wakes up to while listening to a podcast, or do you listen to them on commutes, or this is the first time you in person are attending or listening one? So what's your experience like?
So I listen to podcasts before sleeping.
Hmm.
That's a norm that I follow. Like any random podcast I'll open and I'll just listen to it for like 15-20 minutes. Mostly I love watching this guy, Ranveer. Yeah, Ranveer is somebody who I even work with. So I kind of love his podcast, and matlab, that kind of podcast is something that I look forward to. And um, there was a time in my life where I also used to, create podcasts. The way you have called me
Oh,
as a guest, I used to call people and make podcast on YouTube. This is way back in 2020, I guess, during the lockdown period. But
okay.
then, it kind of didn't work out. So I'm like, chodo abhi ye sab. Let's focus on something else. Yeah, podcast has been in my life since like 5 years now, 4 5 years.
Man,
Yeah.
that's crazy. I think this sleeping at night thing, even I do sometimes. So I
Mhm.
am not also the biggest podcast consumers, even though being a host of a show. I think I also like to listen to podcasts. One, if I am, let's say, reorganizing my room, or if I'm,
Mhm.
just clearing out my Almira or something like that, which I know that will take up 40-45 minutes of my time. And I'm just
Right.
very bored of listening to songs. Outside of that, I think I really like to listen to podcasts while I drift off to sleep. And because I don't remember exactly, like I just set a sleep timer on Spotify for 30 minutes and 15 minutes, and then I
Mhm.
just put that show on, and in somewhere in the middle I fall asleep. So I think that
Right.
also works like a good sleeping pill for me.
Yeah, I mean, see, honestly, it's I don't know how to explain this, but it kind of gives me a lot of mental peace whenever I listen to a podcast. And
Yeah.
if I'm watching and listening to a podcast, that's just an addition. That's like a cherry on the cake. So yeah, man, it's nice to do podcast. I would recommend everybody just do podcast. It's great.
And also I think on the piece of this, and like everything around us is becoming commercialized, right? So podcast is what a podcast is just a conversation that you had with someone. Okay, it could be a
Mm.
dignified person. Let's say if it could be someone who's won an Olympics gold medal, then it becomes more of a value exchange. It becomes
Right.
them providing their insights. But if you look
Mm.
at podcasts and the scene of podcasting in India or across the world, now people are just having conversations with their friends and calling it a podcast. And rightly
Yeah.
so. It's commercialization of conversations, which is happening.
Mm.
Like
See,
everyday conversation which you might have had with your best friend, if you put that on
yeah.
YouTube, then it's called a podcast.
I can't do that. We'll be banned from YouTube. We'll be banned from everywhere. We'll end up in the jail if we do that. But I want to point out this one thing. Like what I personally like is watching podcast of normal people. See, it's fun to watch podcast when there is somebody who's very famous or, as you said, very dignified, which I do on Ranveer's show. But there are a lot of pages that I follow. I don't remember the name, but there are a lot of pages that I follow who they just make podcasts out of random people. They'll call random people, they'll call their friends. And trust me, bro, the kind of stories that people have,
Yeah.
it's it's crazy. I mean, see, it's lovely to watch a dignified person who has, achieved a lot of things in his life. But to know a very inside story of a common man,
Yeah.
number one, it's very much relatable at times. Number two, you kind of feel के हाँ यार ये तो घर की बात हो रही है मतलब ये पहचान वाले
Hmm.
लोग हैं you
Yeah.
know so I feel this part where now people are sitting with their friends and everything, I really like this more if I tell you
Hmm.
compared to, the Big Guest podcast. It's a good
Yeah.
name, yeah, the Big Guest podcast.
Yeah.
I should start
I
with
think you
something
should restart that
like
podcast of yours.
that. Definitely.
So let's talk about what you do. Okay. Let's try to understand at least what you do. And is there a certain professional title that you like to go about? Like, do you like filmmaker more? Do you like a creative artist more? Do you like possibly what like a very professional video editor? What is something that you feel most closest to
So
when you
I
say what I do daily?
so I call myself a part-time freelancer and a full-time unemployed.
Mm.
That's the
Okay.
title I have given to myself. So if anybody is asking me what exactly do you do, I just tell them I'm a part-time freelancer and full-time I'm unemployed. So that's, but yeah, jokes apart, to be honest, I kind of do a lot of things. Like I work as a host with, a few channels. I work as a DOP with a few brands that I have. I work as an editor with a few clients. And with few of them, I sometimes, give them writing material.
Okay.
And for my Instagram, I'm doing everything together.
Hmm.
So I would say that I'm a media person. I'm a film person. I don't have a specific profession, but I'm a film person. Wherever there is something that involves making a video or ideation of a video or execution of a video or a film,
Yeah.
I would like to keep myself there. So I don't know, filmmaker, or you can say a DOP, a cinematographer, an editor, whatever is comfortable. You can call me that.
And how does one realize this? How did you realize that you are a media person? How did you realize that, this is something that could be your craft one day and not something like,
Yeah.
banking or something like a government job or something else?
So I'll tell you, I got 7 out of 80 in my ninth standard maths. तो
Okay.
बैंकिंग और फाइनेंस और अकाउंट्स तो वहीं पे निकल गया, ठीक है. Then this thing happened with me in my degree college. So मुंबई में क्या होता है ना, 10th तक हमारा स्कूल होता है, 11th 12th is our junior college, and then we have a degree college.
Yeah, I've
Now,
never got to understand how does that work.
yeah,
Like 11,
that's
12th is
that's
school
just
only.
yeah, that's just Bombay. So I was in my first year degree college, and one day randomly I wrote a story. Actually, I don't know, I was in a very good mood, and there was good music going on. So I kind of wrote a story, and there was this one event, and I went there and I recited that story completely, and I got the title of Mr. Hinduja. मतलब मेरा जो college था, I won that title, and it's still on my Instagram ka highlights. I guess I don't know. So when I won that title, no, I kind of got this sense कि यार चलो I can talk. One thing I can do is I can talk. And जो मैंने बात की है वो मैंने खुद ने लिखा है. So चलो
Hmm.
writing भी हो गया. अब ये दो चीजें हो गई, and with that I understood कि चलो इस field में कुछ तो करना है. Then at that time only I was even doing VFX. I
Hmm.
was kind of learning VFX, but obviously that didn't turn out well. So I realized that okay, this field is mine, but I don't want to get into like the whole VFX and everything part. But at the same time, I know basic editing. The only thing I need to know is now camera work. So
Yeah.
एक एक करके चीजें add up होती गई. And after one point, I realized that okay, I can do everything, and I can commercialize everything. So I guess in the year 2019, once my YouTube also started growing, I realized that this is something I want to do lifetime. I
Yeah.
can't, get into accounts or banking or finance and stuff because I know for a fact I will fail in that. You see, मतलब honestly बोलूँ तो मुझे ऐसा नहीं है कि I can't do maths. I'm a मारवाड़ी guy, तो हम लोग के
Hmm.
अंदर maths is inbuilt. पैसा is like inbuilt. हमको plus
Yeah.
minus आता है. But the thing is, I can't do it. Even if I tomorrow if I start, with accounts or something, I might earn good amount of money, but I don't think so. I'll be satisfied in that. I feel I'll be very uh, that character from Tamasha Ved. I'll become Ved. So I don't want to be that.
Hmm. And whenever you are around these projects of filmmaking or being a DOP for a project or just someone who starts from scratch any creative ideation or
Hmm.
execution for a brand or for an individual, do you feel that you have found that piece of craft which you are willing to work like for the rest of your life? Do you feel at home and settled here?
Not really, man. I don't think so. You'll ever feel settled in this field
Okay.
because there is always scope of growth. There was a
Hmm.
time when I started out with YouTube. My goals were I want to buy a camera, I want to buy a laptop, I want to buy this, I want to buy that. By doing some good work, बाद में clients आए, I started working. अब ये सारी चीजें ले ली. इसके बाद मेरा गोल था now I want to work for international clients. एक दो international clients भी आए. After that, my point was कि now I want to really work as an individual DOP on a production set. वो
Hmm.
भी हो गया last year. I worked for a big finance company for like 7-8 videos. उसके बाद आया कि now I want to work with pan India companies जो काफी बड़ी है. Then I worked with Amazon, Flipkart, Porter, etc. Now at this point I'm still not satisfied. Now I want to do something else. So
Hmm.
this factor of being settled as a
Yeah.
DOP or as a film creative,
Hmm.
you can never get that satisfaction ka level. And if you get that level, your growth will stop.
Hmm.
There's a very thin line between getting settled and getting satisfied. I'm satisfied with my work, but I'm not going to settle with this, you know,
Hmm.
because there is always a scope of growth, man. I mean,
Yeah.
Instagram ke reels, if you check out, this kind of idea was in my head since 2021. बट मैं कभी एग्जीक्यूट ही नहीं कर पाया बिकॉज मुझे ऐसा था कि यार मैं अगर ये काम करूंगा ना तो आई माइट फील वेरी सेटिस्फाइड एंड मैं दूसरी चीजें नहीं कर पाऊंगा.
Hmm.
So it's a very gray area, I would say, that being
Yeah.
settled in this field, you can never settle yourself. Now when I'm creating this kind of content on Instagram, once I thought that I'll be settled, but now when I'm actually creating it, I'm not settled. There is
Hmm.
always something more that I want. So लालची कह सकते हैं.
No, definitely that makes sense. And I understand your perspective in that regard. But do you sometimes also regret not buying into a settled corporate career?
Yeah, sometimes I do. I mean, it's a very ironical thing. Yesterday only I got a call for a job, and they were offering me good amount of money and everything. But something inside me keeps telling me, "Ke no, yaar, mat kar job mat kar." You see, I'll tell you a fact about freelancing. Okay, the difference between freelancing and a corporate job is, जब तुम corporate job करते हो ना,
Yeah.
तुम्हें पता है तुम्हारे साथ क्या होने वाला है. Like for a fact that Sunday is going to be a holiday,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Saturday might be a half day, and Monday से वही same तुमको काम करना है. Your boss is going to come and tell you you have to do these things.
Yeah.
But as a freelancer, no, there is always something exciting in your head कि ये भी हो सकता है, वो भी हो सकता है, ये भी हो सकता है. So ये चीज अच्छी है that you are in that zone continuously. कि आज ये हो गया, आज वो हो गया. But at the same time, I sort of have this small regret कि मैंने पहले ही जॉब कर लेना चाहिए था. तो अभी मैं कुछ
Hmm.
अलग ही लेवल पे जॉब कर रहा होता. बिकॉज
Hmm.
जब काम नहीं होता है ना इन फ्रीलांसिंग, देर इज लिटरली नो वर्क. देन
Yeah.
if there is work, there is work. You are there out for like 24 hours. And if there is
Hmm.
no work, you are home for like 7 days. So
Wow.
this, I would say, this instability
Extremes.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, this instability that you have, that is one reason that I feel वो एक रिग्रेट है मेरे को कि ये अनस्टेबिलिटी फ्रीलांसिंग के वजह से आई है. तो अगर जॉब कर लेता तो शायद ये अनस्टेबिलिटी आ जाती नहीं.
But Mirko, I feel this that this is a trade-off again. Like if you
Yeah.
had done that job, then you wouldn't have had the time to work on all of these projects again. Then you
See,
wouldn't
I'll
be
tell
here.
you, I'll tell you honestly, if I would have done a job no in 2020 after my college was done, I would have never made the amount of money I've made right now. I,
Hmm.
I, I would not even be, I would say 10% close to it.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, exactly that my point is. But again, as I said, there is always a very gray area.
Yeah.
एक तरफ तुमको see there are a lot of pros of doing freelancing कि हाँ यार you get a lot of money, you whatever work you do is your work, it's
Yeah.
not anybody else's work. But at the same time, the instability part, that's the only thing that hits the most. The
Hmm.
moment you become a stable freelancer now,
Yeah.
where like your entire month ki dates are blocked, after that there is no regret in life, there is no complaints in life, and you become a saint, I would say.
Hmm.
Your mindset just completely changes.
I think that is a very good goal to chase, and I feel that can only be achieved once you have developed enough leverage or enough value inside yourself or in your brand or in the product that you're building. Any of
Hmm.
those. Um, that can only happen if you've built that amount of value and leverage inside of yourself that everyone wants a piece of you on all calendar days. So that is, I think,
Yeah.
that's my way of looking at it. कि do I have enough to give to everyone?
Hmm.
Like अगर मेरे पास चीज तो I have only 10 toffees and I would
Hmm.
want to distribute like for the rest of the year, but I can't do that, right? So I need to have that level of maybe depth in a skill or the breadth of skills that I know, which allow people to come to me and then want me to do some of their work. I think that is the way I've always looked at it. Do you also feel same?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I always tell this to a lot of people. If you really want to grow in freelancing, no, you need to be on your toes and you need to have your skills upgraded every day.
Hmm.
मतलब you can't settle at just one skill. कि अगर आज मैं एडिटिंग करूँ तो मैं सिर्फ एडिटिंग करूंगा, नहीं यार, you can't settle that.
Hmm.
Once you're settling yourself in that, no, and you make an image of yourself in the market कि okay, this guy is an editor. तुमको फिर तुम चाहे कितना भी सिनेमाटोग्राफी सीख लो, तुम चाहे कितना भी डायरेक्शन सीख लो, nobody is going to come to you for that.
Hmm.
Because see, at the end of the day, life is all about perspective. You know, things might be true, things might not be true, but how you perceive yourself to others, how others look at you, makes or breaks your career completely. I've noticed, I've realized this in the last 6 years of my work and everything. It's the perspective game, man. If you have a
Hmm.
great perspective, you get work. If you don't have a great perspective, if your communication is not great, if your
Yeah.
portfolio is not top notch, if you can't sell yourself, if you can't, I would say, to sum up everything, if you can't make a perspective, of yours in front of others in the
Yeah.
way that you want, then I don't think so you'll ever be successful in freelancing.
Yeah, it's narrative. I think mostly
Yeah.
it's narrative what you have to build, and this is what marketing is really good at. This is what brands. Even I think it's testament to your statement. What you just said is validated by the fact that such big organizations which have built great products still have to spend on marketing, like still have to shape that narrative, still have to tweak that perspective of the consumer.
Hmm.
Okay, no, this is the best product. This time when iPhone 16 Pro launches, this is something else that is
Yeah.
coming in.
So
Otherwise it's a yeah.
I'll tell you one thing. I got a very good example on this. Dream 11 सुना होगा आपने?
What?
ड्रीम 11, माई
Dream
सर्कल.
11, yeah, yeah, yeah,
या
yeah.
सो ड्रीम 11 है ना, बहुत बड़ी कंपनी है, ठीक है. आई डोंट थिंक सो दे नीड मार्केटिंग. देयर आर लॉट ऑफ पीपल यूजिंग इट राइट नाउ. बट द मेन रीजन वो लोग इतना मार्केटिंग कर रहे हैं इज बिकॉज दे आर इन योर फेस, मैन. तुम
Hmm.
इंटरनेट खोलो, तुमको ड्रीम 11 दिखेगा ही दिखेगा. आई वुड टेल
Hmm.
ऑल जो भी ये वीडियो देख रहे हैं ना, एक बार खाली है ना अपना इंस्टाग्राम स्क्रॉल करो, रील्स में तुमको ड्रीम 11 का कुछ ना कुछ तो दिखेगा. आई कैन गारंटी दैट. इतना हैवी प्रमोशन वो लोग कर रहे हैं ना. सो द मार्केटिंग थिंग दैट यू आर टेलिंग, so I feel no matter how much big you are, how successful you are, if you are in the face, only then you can survive. you know
Hmm.
you have to be in the face of everybody, and that's what I feel freelancers need to do. Just be
Yeah.
in the face of the people, upload content, keep pitching clients, keep asking them, keep upgrading your LinkedIn, your profile, your work portfolio, anything. Just keep doing again and again. लोगों के मुंह पे जाके बोलो कि हाँ देखो, hi, I'm here, can you see me, hi.
Yeah.
So that's when you build a very strong image, man.
I definitely agree with that. Honestly, I feel there's no value in half-assing things, like just doing them, and after a point, then if it doesn't turn out your way, saying I didn't put as much effort. I think there's no. That's just a coward's facade. That's just a way
Yeah.
to hide behind not doing the best you could, and then
Hmm.
saying, okay, I didn't put in my 100% potential and things like that.
Right.
Which
Right.
I feel is kind of like a differentiator in whatever people like. in creative industry, I'm sure you would have observed it, that you've worked with a lot of creatives individually and at an
Mm.
organization level, of course. So you would have seen that the successful portion of those creators or people, who
Mm.
have actually kind of achieved those goals. Let's say successful is a vague term in creativity, but who have achieved metrics that they set for themselves are only able to do that because they are willing to go to that, extra step of just trying to be in your face. I am sure like Beer Biceps is like
Mm.
so much on his like English channel, Hindi channel, shorts and clips and all of that to make sure that when everyone hears podcast, then they somehow or the other bring up him in that conversation, which is a very smart
Yeah.
and also like a I'm going to work so hard that you have to talk about me kind of approach.
Yeah. Ranveer is a great marketer, I would say. Like the moment you meet him, no, you'll realize that he's so spontaneous and he's ready with what he wants to say. He
Hmm.
will. मैंने उससे बहुत बहुत बार बातें की हुई है. He never fumbled in front of me
Hmm.
or in front of anybody I've seen. He has never fumbled. So that thing shows that how smart this guy is in his head.
Yeah.
No matter how many people troll him or
Yeah.
whatever people talk about him, but at the end of the day, he is all over the internet. He is making good amount of money. He's meeting like big shot people. He met Ronnie
Yeah.
Coleman here recently. I mean, he's going international now. So I really feel that you have to be like that to make it big. And not only make it big, but survive big. You tell me today, जो first gen के YouTubers थे, be it Mumbai Nikhil, be it Prajakta Kohli, or be it anybody for that sake, most of them have today faded out. Okay,
Hmm.
Ranveer is still in the picture, and the main reason is because of number one, his marketing, and number two, his ability to upgrade the skill. मैंने पता है बोला था that you need to upgrade your skill again and again to
Yeah.
be in the market. So I feel that's something I really look forward to learn from him.
Yeah, I think definitely because this is a difference in the Ranveer show and the other creators, I guess, because he improvised and kind of, changed, pivoted to a podcast at the right time,
Hmm.
like 2020, 2021, when everyone is maybe trying to just make their videos more punchy, more entertaining, more long.
Yeah,
He goes a different route altogether and tries to bring podcasts and, all of this to India.
yeah.
And that's, pivot really switches everything
Hmm.
for him because now he's not competing in that same lane of just trying to get your attention for 10, 12 minutes. And he's
Right.
trying to have a conversation for 45, 50 minutes, 1 hour, in which people are listening to. And also, really, as a first understanding, like podcasts in India are still a very new experience for most of the people. And many of them have still not heard even a single show. So I think
Yeah,
what is happening is they're getting acclimatized and now they have a variety of options and he's built out a library. I think those things, those pivot moments, those improvisations, which really, let you stand out from the general mass that you're going in, is the
yeah.
differentiator.
Right. And not just podcast, but in life also, I feel that's something that makes you different when
Yeah.
you do something different. You know,
Hmm.
um, Today a lot of people tell me, कि Aman, why are you making this high quality reels and इतना storytelling करके ऐसे, इतने aesthetic shots लेके lighting setup वगैरह करके.
Yeah. I've seen your videos.
My only answer to them is always कि यार देखो, this is the future content. Now people are done with those comedy skits and
Yeah.
those old fashioned videos and everything. Slowly that trend is fading out. The
Hmm.
new trend that is coming in is heavy storytelling. I've
Hmm.
seen so many creators, they बीच बीच में वो लोग डालते रहते हैं like heavy story videos or something that is much more deeper in terms of value, and not just some entertainment content, but more
Yeah.
deeper in value. Because as the time is passing by, log evolve हो रहे हैं.
Hmm.
And with this whole Netflix and easy to watch the Western content, people have now realized that जो इंडिया में आज कंटेंट चल रहा है ना, वो यूएस में 5 साल पहले चल रहा था. The
Hmm.
whole podcast scenario is now coming in India, which was started by Joe Rogan, I guess his
Yeah.
name is that, right? He started back in 2013 or 2014, I guess.
Yeah.
So, it's a 15-year, 5-year, I would say, difference of what is happening in US and, what is going to happen in India. That's the reason I will always tell all creators कि अभी है ना थोड़ा आप कंटेंट बना रहे हो ना तो सोच के डालो कि आपको
Hmm.
क्या डालना है, द मोमेंट यू स्टार्ट रनिंग फॉर ट्रेंड्स, द मोमेंट यू स्टार्ट रनिंग कि यार मुझे अटेंशन ग्रैब करना है लोगों का,
Yeah.
मुझे पहले सेकंड में, अरे कैसे, हाउ डू यू ग्रैब anybody's attention in the first second यार, वो क्यों जबरदस्ती अपने ऊपर वो प्रेशर डालो?
Hmm.
I don't see any clarity in that यार. I mean it's अभी सोशल मीडिया में करियर बनाना ना, इट हैज बिकम मोर लाइक इंजीनियरिंग एंड डॉक्टरिंग. आई एम नॉट सेइंग दैट उतना पढ़ाई होता है, ऑब्वियसली इंजीनियरिंग एंड डॉक्टरिंग हैज अ लॉट मोर ऑफ स्टडी एंड एवरीथिंग, बट एज अ सोशल मीडिया क्रिएटर आई वुड से कि it has now come to doctor and engineering when it in terms of the struggle that people do.
Yeah. That's so
So much
true,
of,
man.
yeah, so much of planning, plotting, ऐसा करो वैसा करो, मैंने इतने सारे रील्स देखे हैं. If you want to go viral, do these 5 tricks, ये 5 ऐसा कुछ कर लो तो इससे ये हो जाएगा, इससे मिलियन व्यूज आ जाएंगे यार. आई आई हैव ट्राइड एवरीथिंग, पार्डन माय लैंग्वेज, बट घंटा कुछ नहीं होता.
Hmm.
आई मीन आई एम बीइंग वेरी ऑनेस्ट अबाउट इट, नथिंग हैपेंस. If your content is giving value to somebody, it is going to be shared a lot, it is going to be saved a lot, people are going to comment, eventually तुमको engagement मिलने वाला है ना. तो ये हैशटैग हो गया, टाइमिंग हो गया, टाइटल हो गया, फर्स्ट सेकंड हुक हो गया, आई डोंट आई फाइंड इट वेरी वियर्ड यार, क्या फालतू कुछ भी.
I think this is more validating in terms of hearing this from a person who has this experience, because you have worked with brands, you have worked with creators who are as big.
Yeah.
And if someone's heard this from you, maybe a young creator who, listens to this podcast and, they are just putting out their third reel on Instagram, and they get this, sense of assurance and validation from a person like you, that makes them more, I guess, self belief oriented and also more confident in their own skin, rather than trying to hop on the bandwagon of someone else who's just trying to sell them things like, okay, 5 tricks to
Right.
make. I did you see that meme of on YouTube, which is like, here are like 10 steps to get your video or 10 million views or something like that, and that video has probably like what, 50 views. So things like those are just, everyday run of the mill, everyone is trying to do those. And
Yeah.
honestly, like, Aman, I want your perspective on this, because we're talking about this fact, because this is my, again, personal opinion, which is, I, with my podcast also, my plan is to create a library of episodes across, different people of different walks of life, people who've, come from possibly outside of India, inside of India, different journeys, and came to different conclusions. I want to give that library to maybe whoever listens to this show in the future. But I am very meticulous with what content am I giving out. Will I want to watch that, or will my kids want to watch that 15 years down the line? Will that be
Hmm.
even relevant? Will those discussions which we are having right now with the people that we're
Hmm.
bringing on the show, will those be relevant 10, 15 years down the line? That's why I always try to have a philosophical segment. That's why I always try to
Hmm.
understand on a deeper level what the other person is trying to put across. Maybe you founded a company, that's very good, but what led for you to start thinking about founding a company? What were the struggles like personally? What personal
Hmm.
human challenges did you face? Because more or less, we are human beings at the end of the day. It comes down, why are books still relevant from 2000, 1500 years old, 200 years old? We still like to read them
Hmm.
because they have that human challenge and solution oriented approach. Maybe someone
Right.
faced a challenge in 1893 which was
Hmm.
somewhat philosophical or somewhat psychological, and then someone reading that book in 2023, and they kind of relate to that, understand that, and then move forward. So I feel that
Right.
in itself is more creatively fulfilling as well.
Content that has human value is going to survive, and content जो सिर्फ entertainment के लिए बना है ना, वो शायद survive नहीं करेगा.
Hmm.
Even if you see with movies today, movies with human values are called cult movies.
Yeah.
Like for example, I would say Tamasha,
Hmm.
Rockstar. It's been ages वो movies निकली है, मतलब almost like 10 years for Tamasha and what 15 years for Rockstar. But still, people find those movies great. Why?
Yeah.
Because it had a lot of human values. So I feel content that revolves around humans and our values, that works.
Hmm. And what's your experience like with working, as a DOP? And do you want to, like, I know what a DOP is, but would you want to explain that to someone who haven't heard this term before?
So a DOP is basically a director of photography. जैसे director होता है, वो actors का director होता है.
Hmm.
So then, the whole light equipments and the camera equipments and, assembling the crew and everything in terms of cameras. उसका जो director होता है is called the director of photography.
Hmm.
So, DOP is a very vast term.
Yeah.
It's, sometimes you can call yourself a DOP even if you go on basic shoots because you are the only camera guy. So you
Yeah.
kind of you call yourself a DOP. You can also call yourself a DOP if you are going to like a big production shoot.
Yeah.
And even if अगर तुम खुद के घर पे खुद का कुछ शूट कर रहे हो then वहाँ पे भी तुम DOP होते हो.
Yeah.
So I mean it's a very cool word for people. Videographer and cameraman sounds very old fashioned, and layman's के term में अगर बोलूँ तो DOP is a cameraman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
बट आपको लगता है ऐसा कि ये इतना ज्यादा स्टिग्मा जो विच वी हैव इन आवर इंडियन सोसाइटी, लाइक कॉलिंग समवन अ कैमरामैन इज जस्ट आउटराइट एन इंसल्ट एंड पीपल फील लाइक so subjected and objected to that, like why did they call me like this and why didn't they? Do you see people around you, editors around you, which are like so ashamed of not being called a DOP and just being called a cameraman?
So
Because
I'll
I
tell you
see,
one
because
thing.
honestly, I see that security in you. I see as a
Yeah,
person, you are not someone who would get triggered by something like this. Because I can sense that calmness inside you. I can sense that, like, sense of security, I guess. You don't have to,
yeah,
you're not just going out there and, trying to prove that you are a DOP because you're calm about it. You know your work.
yeah,
But someone who's
exactly.
just very insecure might get very triggered by this.
See, firstly, if you're insecure, you can't survive in this industry because
Yeah.
you just can't. And secondly, I mean, see, the problem with us as DOPs or cameramans is हमको तुम कुछ भी बुलाओ, that's fine. You call me a camera guy, I'm okay with that. The problem arises when there is disrespect.
Hmm.
There's this very bad narrative in India specifically with the technical crew
Yeah.
that number one, we are underpaid.
Hmm.
Number two, there is no respect. The entire respect, the entire thing only revolves around the actor. There
Yeah.
is nothing for behind the camera people. So वहां पे प्रॉब्लम आती है. एंड इन द रिसेंट टाइम्स DOP जो वर्ड है ना, डायरेक्टर ऑफ फोटोग्राफी, वो बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ गया है इन टर्म्स ऑफ रिस्पेक्ट. यू
Hmm.
नो एंड दैट्स द मेन रीजन people want themselves to be called as a DOP and not a cameraman.
Got it. Got
The
it.
whole scenario is the respect part.
Yeah.
यू नो Cameraman कोई होता है तो द इट्स जस्ट द वे द क्लाइंट्स लुक एट यू, जिनको
Yeah.
नहीं पता होता है व्हाट इज अ
Exactly.
DOP, what is a
Yeah.
cinematographer. So a DOP is different, a cinematographer is different, a videographer is different, and a cameraman is different. There
Hmm.
are a lot of layers, but in layman's term क्या होता है, बस कैमरा, कैमरा हाथ में तो तुम कैमरा मैन हो. तो वहां पे ना दैट सेंस ऑफ रिस्पेक्ट वो चली जाती है कि अरे ये तो कैमरा मैन ही है, अरे ये क्या फोटो
Yeah.
तो खींचना. So
Hmm.
a lot of people even come and tell me I'm a photographer. I am not a photographer. I don't click photos. And I mean that's a very weird narrative के it's like एक आर्किटेक्ट को तुम इंटीरियर बोल रहे हो, एक सीए को तुम अकाउंटेंट बोल रहे हो. दे
Yeah.
बोथ आर डिफरेंट, राइट? तो एक फोटोग्राफर, एक वीडियोग्राफर, एक DOP, एक सिनेमाटोग्राफर सब अलग होते हैं, उनका सबका काम अलग होता है. So I
Yeah.
don't know ये कब इंडिया में चेंज होगा, but it really needs to change and people need to start respecting the technical crew also, because see if the technical crew is not strong,
Yeah.
फिर है
You
ना
don't
आदि
have
पुरुष,
anything. Yeah.
आदि पुरुष जैसी मूवी बन गई. ट्रस्ट में, the technical crew is the backbone of any film, any video that you make.
Yeah, that's
एक
true.
टाइम पे, या आई अग्री टू द फैक्ट कि एक्टर्स भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, ऑन कैमरा पीपल आर द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट. बट अगर ऑफ कैमरा वाले लोग नहीं हुए ना सही, इफ यू कॉल एनी XYZ person and tell them to handle a camera, and if they can't, your entire production will go for a waste.
Yeah, that's so true, man. I think things like these often get overlooked because of the limelight. I've also kind of wondered about this in terms of music bands, and I'm sure most of them have like a good camaraderie. That's the only reason they can survive. But most which fall out is because there are reasons that the lead singer is the only one getting that or taking that spot,
Yeah.
and if there comes a selfishness of me trying to become greater than what my community is, then
Hmm.
it starts maybe there's not as much respect for the other crew members of the band, or maybe technicians who set up those band wires or things like that. But if they start revolting, or if they are not in line with the synchronous nature of the whole group, then it all falls
Yeah.
apart, because they are the
So,
essentially the ones who's putting things together.
right. So in India now, I'll tell you this one thing. One big major problem that we Indians have is a lot of people are going to get offended on this. We have a very bad habit of individual love, you know. हमको I'll explain this with an example, ठीक है? अगर एक मूवी होती है तो यूएस कनाडा जैसी जगह पे हॉलीवुड में स्पेसिफिकली आई वुड से वहां पे लोग मूवी देखने जाते हैं बिकॉज आइदर दे लाइक द एक्टर दे
Yeah.
लाइक द डीओपीज कैमरा वर्क और दे लाइक द डायरेक्टर और दे आर अ फैन ऑफ द राइटर ठीक है
Okay.
और दे जस्ट लव द होल मूवी का स्टोरी दे
Yeah.
डोंट सी के एक स्पेसिफिक फेस है इस वजह से मैं मूवी देखने जाऊँ और
Hmm.
फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ यू सी क्रिकेट में भी we always promote an individual person over the whole sport.
Yeah, that's true.
तो जो इंडिविजुअलिज्म होती है ना इंडिया में दैट इज द मेन रीजन व्हाई यू नो एक बंदा ही हमेशा आगे रहता है बिकॉज वो
Hmm.
एक फेस को ही हम इतना उसको पकड़ के बैठ जाते हैं ना कि वी फॉरगेट कि वो एक फेस के वजह से वो चीज नहीं चल रही इट्स द बिग पिक्चर दैट इज बीइंग शोन टू यू जिसमें से वो एक इंसान है खाली जो उसको प्रेजेंट कर रहा है
Hmm.
so that's the main reason why even in cricket you say even in movie industry you say there is this inequality of pay inequality of respect because of this only a very true I'll tell you one thing about filmmaking industry and everything uh, the people who are at the top the actors ho gaya director ho gaya or the dop who's the top guy they are getting paid very nice they are getting
Hmm.
good amount of money they everything is great with them बट उसके नीचे जो लोग होते हैं जैसे जो लाइट मैन होता है जो गैफर्स होते हैं या फिर जो स्पॉट वाले होते हैं या फिर जो टेक्निकल क्रू होता है यू नो
Yeah.
द एसीज और असिस्टेंट सिनेमाटोग्राफर्स और यू नो द एडीज और एनीबडी दे आर गेटिंग वेरी लेस पेड
Hmm.
कंपेयर टू व्हाट द टॉप लेवल मैनेजमेंट इज गेटिंग पेड सो वो
Okay.
जो इनइक्वालिटी है ना इंडिया में इट्स देयर एवरीवेयर इट्स इवन विद द अगर मैं इकोनॉमिक टर्म्स में भी बोलूं जो अमीर है इंडिया में 1% वो बहुत अमीर है और
Hmm.
जिसके पास नहीं है तो पॉवर्टी इंडिया में सबसे ज्यादा है इंडिया इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड वन ऑफ द रिचेस्ट कंट्रीज एंड इट इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड वन ऑफ द मोस्ट पोअरेस्ट कंट्री बिकॉज देर इज अ लॉट ऑफ इनइक्वालिटी पे
Hmm. Yeah.
दिस हैपेंस बिकॉज ऑफ इंडिविजुअलिज्म हम एक
That's,
बंदे को
yeah.
पकड़ लेते हैं एंड वी मेक हिम द गॉड ऑफ एवरीथिंग सो आई फील वो मेंटालिटी जब चेंज होगा ना तब देयर वुड बी इक्वालिटी एवरीवेयर
Very hard state to achieve though, because in a capitalistic state, it's always counterintuitive to this, because capitalism thrives on this mentality. Like you
या
have to do something different, and then I think we can talk about that on another episode. But one question that I really want to ask before we let you go is, and I have always wanted to ask this to a person who does filmmaking or is a cinematographer, that whenever you guys are watching movies, because you work so hands-on on movies, so I'm sure you're able to understand that those director shots better. You're able to appreciate the beauty better. But now I want to understand this when you are living your life, because your life is also, kind of like a, what do you say, a 5D movie of sorts. Like you have sound
या
very high quality, and you have full 4K resolution with your eyes, and which are
या
your cameras, and something
हाँ
like that. So do you feel like
हाँ
you are able to, like, just while walking down a street, are you able to think of cinematic shots that that would make this, like, do you think of your life also in that regard? Do you start seeing things which others might not see in a visual field?
बिफोर आंसरिंग दिस आई टेल यू वन वेरी फनी थिंग व्हेन यू टोल्ड मी ना कि जब एक फिल्म मेकर एक फिल्म देखता है तो वो डू दे अप्रिशिएट द ब्यूटी आई टेल यू वेरी ऑनेस्टली मोर देन अप्रिशिएटिंग द ब्यूटी वी रिमूव अ लॉट ऑफ मिस्टेक्स सो yesterday I was watching a series okay it's on Sony Live it's a great series ठीक है उसमें सीजन 3 अनदेखी इज द सीरीज नेम उसमें सीजन 3 में आई गेस सेवेंथ या एट एपिसोड आई डोंट नो विच एपिसोड देर इज अ सीन वेयर अ गाय शॉट्स अ गर्ल इनटू द हार्ट वो दिल में
Okay.
मारता है वो मर जाती है वहां पे ठीक है नाउ कट टू अनदर शॉट जहाँ पे द गर्ल इज बैक इन द बैकग्राउंड and she's blurred out totally and there is a conversation between two guys now
Okay.
what I noticed is that girl is still breathing I could see her
Hmm.
breathing, वो जो when you breathe your chest
Inhale and
moves.
exhale. Yeah.
Yeah, so I could see her actually breathing, and I'm like, how can you not see that mistake in post? How can you not? I mean, nobody would notice that, but
Yeah.
अगर तुम ध्यान से उसको pause करके zoom करके देखोगे ना, you'll notice her stomach is moving, and her chest is also moving.
Yeah.
Obviously, she's breathing. She's not dead in real. So I noticed that, and I'm like, bro, that is wrong. And this is not the first instance. I have
Yeah.
seen in so many movies. Is it visible? So yeah, I do that. And answering your question, I forgot your question. What it was?
So I just want to understand that how does a creative's mind work when you're walking down the
Yeah,
street?
right,
Are you able to
right.
see
So
shots that you want to include in your, projects?
man, I do that 24/7. Like जैसे ही golden hour शुरू होता है, and I am maybe around Marine Drive or maybe going somewhere. The moment I see that golden hour, I start clicking pictures कि okay, यहाँ से ऐसी लाइट आ रही है, यहाँ
Hmm.
से ऐसी लाइट आ रही है, यहाँ पे ऐसा अच्छा शैडो क्रिएट हो रहा है. So, this can be done in a shot. Or for example, if I'll tell you, when it's around 5:30, you might have noticed that there is a very nice golden light.
Hmm.
So that light not only makes your skin glow, but overall तुम अगर खड़े रहोगे ना वो लाइट में, you look very pretty, you look very beautiful in
Hmm.
a very cinematic frame. So वो लाइट जब होती है ना, I try to figure out कि ऐसी लाइट मैं मैन्युअली कैसे बना सकता हूँ.
Oh, okay.
So whenever I go out, when I see such lights, when I see लाइट कहीं पे गिर के रिफ्लेक्ट हो रही है, तो वहां से आई अंडरस्टूड कि ओके, अगर मैं कांच पे लाइट डालूंगा तो वो रिफ्लेक्ट होगी. This
Hmm.
happened when I saw the sunlight falling on a mirror building, and it was reflected on my face, and I got a very nice light on this part of my face. तो
Yeah.
मैंने वो नोटिस किया वो कैसे हुआ. So this is something that I do the entire day. कि यहाँ से
Hmm.
अगर लाइट आ रही है तो यहाँ से मुझे ये शॉट अच्छा आएगा. अगर यहाँ पे बर्ड्स उड़ रहे हैं तो बर्ड्स के साथ कलर कौन सा मैच होगा. अगर
Yeah.
यहाँ पे ग्रीन कलर है तो यहाँ पे अगर मैंने ब्लू कलर का कुछ रख दिया तो हाउ वुड दैट बी. So
Hmm.
this is a now this is subconscious, I would say. I don't do it consciously.
Yeah,
It
but you're a
just
natural
happens.
at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now when even this podcast started, I looked at your frame, and I saw these two paintings. तो इनका जो
Yeah.
color scheme है, it is matching with what you are wearing. अभी यही अगर आपने मान लो black पहना होता, it wouldn't have matched.
Yeah.
Because background तुम्हारा काफी ज्यादा dark है, and we have worn a white thing, and there is a black mic in front of you. So
Yeah.
everything is fitting perfectly. So my first thought was कि अच्छा इसने ये setup अच्छा किया.
And icing on the cake is this is the first time that I'm recording with these two because I only put these two up yesterday's evening. So I
हाँ.
actually this is the first time we've recorded with these two guys in the background.
It's lovely man. I mean, I noticed and I'm like, अच्छा इसने color scheme अच्छी है. So ये
Hmm.
सारी चीजें ना, ये all this happens like subconsciously, man. I don't even realize it till the time anybody is asking me कि ऐसा तूने सोचा था.
But see, Aman, I am such a like you are a natural at it, and for me, like I have to seek out advice, and which I'll definitely do post once we stop recording. I'll keep in touch with you on making sure just my aesthetics are right because I'm a person who's very colorblind in that regard, who's fashion blind, I guess. So I don't
Yeah,
know with white doesn't go with blue and blue doesn't go with yellow and red doesn't go with green. So for me, I just look at some presets that now I know work well. And that now I know socially are acceptable. So I have that my costumes are laid out like that. But I just
lovely.
feel it's a gift if people know what goes with what.
I feel it's more than a gift, no. It's a practice that you do regularly. I
Yeah.
mean, I do this every day. मेरे reels में अगर आप देखोगे तो there are like so many color schemes I'm using. So it's now a regular thing for me. And जब तुम कोई चीज regularly करते हो ना, it just fits into your muscle memory, and you know that what will go right, what will not go right.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's more than a gift. It's the muscle memory that is helping you out. Again, subconsciously.
Hmm. Well, thank you so much, Aman, for being here, man. Lovely talking to you. Honestly, I didn't realize like we've been talking for an hour almost.
Yeah,
Great
man.
conversation because I felt there's a certain acceptance of who you are as a person which really comes off when you talk and you seem like a secure person. You seem like a person who, even though is navigating through whatever challenges he's facing personally, professionally, but you are able to do that with a calm and a steady ship, which I feel is one of the
Yeah,
best qualities of any human being.
yeah,
If you can navigate through life without being constantly, icked, constantly being sad, constantly being
mm,
disgruntled, criticizing, if you can do all
right.
of that without that rest of the part, I think you're doing
Yeah,
good life.
yeah. I mean, personally, I don't know if I'm that calm or not, but professionally, I mean, you have to be calm, यार. You can't. I mean, अगर तुम calm नहीं रहोगे, तो there is no other way out. Because
Yeah.
I honestly feel that the problem with today's time is that everybody wants it quick. Even I
Hmm.
want it quick. Everybody wants it quick because of social media. कि यार ये बंदा ये कर रहा है, वो कर रहा है. But I feel at the end of the day, things will happen at their own pace.
Yeah.
You can't force it, man. You can't, constantly run behind it and just वो फिर तुमको नहीं मिलेगा. You become sad. You start criticizing your life. Eventually, whose loss? It's your loss. So I feel यार छोड़ो यार सब काम रहो शांत रहो बिकॉज यार मेरा एक ही मानना है कि यार तुम है ना इतने से हो पूरे यूनिवर्स में तुम दिखते भी नहीं.
Yeah.
What's the use of so much of stress, so much of running behind, so much of chasing? I mean, you hardly live for like 50, 60 years, and with the weather
Yeah.
and everything, I don't think so even that is possible now. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I have a very uncle mindset कि अरे fuck it यार होगा जो होना होगा हो जाएगा.
Yeah.
Just don't run behind it. देखा जाएगा जो होगा. But at the same time, you need to work hard, man. ऐसा नहीं कि तुम बस पड़े हो रह जाओ कि
Nihilistic.
हाँ,
Yeah.
you can't do that. So
I think awesome to host you, man. I think we'll bring you on again for another episode when we are
lovely.
diving deep into capitalism, communism, or filmmaking.
Ah, done, bro. I am waiting for that. We'll try to make it very offensive. We'll get views.
On purpose. Let's try to make this the
Yes,
most offensive episode. Thank you so much, Aman,
done.
for
Thank
taking
you,
the
man.
time out, man. I love talking to you.
Thank you so much, man. Lovely, lovely meeting you also. Looking forward to the videos, man.
Sure. Awesome.